Today I'm going to be talking about variables. So I want to start out by opening Xcode. I'm going to hit Command and Spacebar together to bring up Spotlight Search. I'm going to type Xcode. And then you want to look for the one that I have highlighted right here. It's like a blue little blueprint with a hammer. Go ahead and hit Enter. That'll open up Xcode. It'll bring up this page. Go ahead and go to File, and this little nav bar up here, New, and I'm going to hit Playground. Click that. Then it'll bring up this guy. Please make sure iOS is selected. You can see, you can go to different things. Just make sure iOS is highlighted here. And then go ahead and hit blank. Hit next. And then it'll ask you what you want to name your project. I'm going to name mine variables. And then put practice also. You can name yours whatever you want. Just make sure you don't forget what it is. And then save it somewhere you will be able to find later. I'm just going to save mine on my desktop for now. Hit create. And then it'll bring up this nice little playground for us. If you're, just a little quick note, if your colors look different, I have my preferences to a darker color. Yours might be white. If you'd like to change that, real quick, I'll show you. Go up to here to go to Xcode, go to Preferences, go to Themes, and you might have classic light, classic dark, basic, one of these, default, something like that. I like dusk. That's what I use. So if you'd like to have the same colors that I do, feel free to do that. Or pick any of the other ones if you'd like. It's up to you. Okay, so let's get started with this. I want you to go ahead and highlight all of this stuff and delete it for now. It's a blank page. Okay, after that, we're set up to start talking about variables. I'd like you to follow along with me if possible. I'm going to show you some examples, and then I'm going to ask you to do your own. So make sure that you are following along. Make sure that when I ask you to do your own thing, you do. That really helps with the learning process. So make sure you're doing that. So what is a variable and why do we need them? You might have heard of variables in math. They're very similar in programming. You can think of it as a container for something or just something to store a value of some sort. I like to think of it as a whiteboard. So I'm going to go ahead and make a whiteboard, a variable called whiteboard. So I'll talk about the layout of a variable in a second, but I'm just going to make it real quick. So I'm going to type var, which stands for variable, whiteboard, and then I'm going to make it these little two things. These are called a string. I will talk about that in a future video, but for now, let's just do that. So let's talk about the anatomy, so to speak, of a variable real quick. So this is how Swift will know that we're making a variable. This needs to be before every new variable that we make. This section right here is the name. We can make this pretty much anything we want. There are some cases where you can't name them certain things, but we'll talk about that in the future. For the most part, you can name it whatever you want. There's something called camel case, which essentially means the first word is lowercase, and the first character of every future word is uppercase. I have no idea if whiteboard is one word or two, but for this example, I did it this way so I could show that. This equal sign is called the assignment operator. I'll talk about that in a separate video, but the simple version is it puts whatever is on the right side of the assignment operator, which in this case are these two quotes, into the variable, so into this. And then this is just two quotes. It's something called a string. I will talk about that more in detail in the future, but for right now, just think of a string as characters, or like if you were writing your name or something like that. So I have a whiteboard here. So I want you to imagine a whiteboard in front of you, blank whiteboard, nothing's really in it right now. Just some space to write. So I want to write my name on this whiteboard. I want to write my first name on the whiteboard. So I'm going to show how to do that. So I'm going to do whiteboard. Okay. I just hit enter to autocomplete. If you want to do that, you're more than welcome to, or you can type the whole thing if you'd like. Okay, so I'm just going to put whiteboard. I'm going to use that assignment operator I talked about earlier. And then I'm going to put my name, Bradley. Okay. imagine this whole line, you in real life taking a dry erase marker and writing your name, your first name, on a whiteboard. Okay, same thing. So this line here, break it down a little more. This is the name of the variable we already made. We don't have to put var in front of it because we already made it above. This is, again, that assignment operator. That's the actual action that's happening. So this allows us to put something on the right side into what's on the left side. So in this case, it's putting Bradley. So it's assigning Bradley to the variable whiteboard. Okay. I know it gets kind of hairy. Let's just stay with me. Okay. So now you can see online. Let me just run this real quick. So hit this little run button. You can see I started out as nothing, and then now it's Bradley. See on the right side right here. Okay. So I want you to go ahead and I want you to write your first name and put that into whiteboard. Okay. I'll give you a minute to do that. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay. Welcome back. So I'm expecting that you wrote your first name. So I want you to do one other thing. I want you to put your last name into whiteboard, but I don't want you to just change these. I don't want you to change the first name. I want you to assign again. So on line 5 right here, I want you to do it again. I want you to put your last name, and then I want you to think about what's going to happen. Is it going to say your first and your last name, or is it just going to say your last name? And then when you get back, I'll show you the answer. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay, welcome back. So I'm going to go ahead and put my last name into whiteboard, and I will show you what happens. I'm curious to see what you guess. Let me know in the comments below. So I'm going to go ahead and assign my last name, which is Gilmore. Then I'm going to go ahead and run it again. Click the little run button, and you can see it's Gilmore now. There's no longer Bradley, it's Gilmore after this line. So why is that? Well, again, this assignment operator is replacing everything in this variable with whatever is on the right side of the assignment operator. Okay, that's important to know. So it overwrites whatever was there and puts whatever's on the right side there. So great job with the variables. I want to show you one other thing real quick before we go to the constants video. I want you to show that there's another way to write variables. Okay, there's 2 ways. The first way is what I showed you already. And the second way is something very similar. So I'm gonna make a first name variable. Okay. And then okay, so the difference between this and this is actually nothing. Now you might be saying to me, well, it looks different. Sure, yeah. But this is a shorthand version of this. So Swift, when it sees this guy, knows it's smart enough to know that you mean this. Okay. The only difference is that you're explicitly saying what type of thing is on the right side of the assignment operator. Now, I know you don't know about types yet. We'll talk about this in a future video, but I just want you to be aware of the 2 different ways to write variables, okay? So in the future, you may want to write it this way, or you may want to write it this way. We'll talk more about personal style and conventions and stuff like that in future videos, but I just wanted you to see, in case you're looking stuff up online or seeing other people's code, I wanted you to know that this was an option, and these 2 things on line 1 and line 7 are essentially the same. Thank you for watching the variables video. If you want to know what's next in the series, go ahead and check out the constants video, which is next, right after this. Thanks, and I'll see you there.